Welcome to another live Game Changers Experience podcast live show with myself, Adam Strong. And today we have another amazing guest. In fact, one thing I love about the show is just kind of, interviewing some really diverse characters, people that come from diverse black backgrounds. This particular gentleman actually was introduced to me through a previous podcast guest, actually, Adrian, who's is a really cool guy based over in the US. And, it's interesting. So some of you guys know I'm also a previous Olympic athlete as well. And we're going to be interviewing someone who I find very fascinating in today's world. And his name is called Cam Awesome. All right. Now, I'm not pulling your leg here, guys. We're going to talk about how the whole kind of like awesomeness comes about. But Cam is effectively a speaker. He's a champion of diversity. He's a national champion, heavyweight Olympic boxer, or former Olympic heavyweight boxer. He's been featured in numerous media, but he's also been featured in a documentary called Counterpunch. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that documentary as well. And he used to be the captain of Team USA. So in boxing, and one of the things that we're going to be talking about is adversity today. And I feel like today's topic is very much on point. And I'm sure that some of you guys that are going to be listening in are going to be very much on point with today. Now, if you're listening to us live, use the hashtag live, use the hashtag replay, of course. If you have any comments or any questions of me and Cam, please do me a favor, PLC, post like or comment section below. That'd be super awesome. We are streaming here through on LinkedIn Live and on YouTube. So make sure that you hit that bell notification on the top right-hand corner. So one of the things that me and Cam are going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about we talk about Cam. His name is Cam Awesome. We're going to talk about that story first, because for you guys that don't know about that, that's quite fascinating. Secondly, we're going to be talking about the preparation, right? So the preparation of what Cam did in terms of like leading to a fight or a competition, the competition and the mental edge, the competitive edge, more than anything else. What is the rituals that he went through? What are the habits? We can be delving in a little bit about that. What a typical routine looks like for Cam as well. And we're also going to be talking about how he dealt emotionally and mentally about how, if he, when he went through times of adversity or when he lost a fight or whatever it is, what did he do to go through the emotional, mental kind of like avenues in terms of like dealing with that particular scenario, whatever it is. We're also going to talk a little bit about humbleness, happiness, how they're correlated and things like that. So lots and lots and lots to get through. So listen, if you cannot listen to the live video, do me a favor, head over to Spotify or on Apple, whatever your preferred podcast platform is, and go listen to us on there. Even if you're listening to the gym, listen to it in the car, or whatever it might be. So listen, looking forward to today's conversation. So without further ado, Mr. Cam Awesome, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm out in cloudy Seattle right now in the U.S.
That's Seattle, Washington, right?
Yeah, in the States.
In the States. Cool. Well, listen, I'm excited about our conversation, and we have to give a big shout out to Adrian, who introduced us, right? Adrian's a cool guy, right?
Yeah. Love that dude.
How did you guys meet, just out of curiosity?
Actually through one of my a guy used to an old boxing buddy. I fought him once and we're friends. He Ed Lattimore, he connected me with Adrian.
Nice. Very cool. Love that. It's good stuff. So I'm really fascinated because, we have a lot of similarities, even though we're kind of like from two different sports, two different disciplines. So it's kind of interesting. I guess we all have our own stories from sport discipline and things like that. But, I find boxing is one of those sports where, there is just so much you can kind of correlate back to, what we were speaking about offline and about business, right? There's just so much you can talk about, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of parallels between boxing and business, and actually boxing and life.
A lot.
Uh, I'm so grateful that I did something as difficult as boxing, because now, in comparison, nothing else really seems that insurmountable.
You know what? It's interesting because, you know, I don't know about you, but I feel like, yes, parenting is difficult. Yes, being an Olympic athlete is difficult. But tell you what, running your own business, I mean, that to me is probably one of the top, like the top, right? I don't know about you. What you see? What are you saying to that?
I would say it. I'm so grateful to have boxing because I didn't realize how difficult it would have been to run a business,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful that I've done something. This isn't the first difficult thing I'm doing, and what I've learned is, once if you can, a cheat code to life is, if you can voluntarily suffer, if you can make yourself do something difficult on your own, when it comes up and it's not your choice, when life throws a punch at you, like, oh, I've been hit before, this is nothing.
Right.
If humans were anti-fragile, the more we go through, the stronger we become. But
Mm.
then you have the same, you said it's very difficult being a parent, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, Adam. So understanding the more you go through, the stronger you become. And I know that because of the things I've been through in my life is why I'm so strong now today.
Mm.
How much do you want your child to go through?
Well, that's a good point. Um, that's a really interesting question. I think for me is I think it depends on the perspective and the narrative. And what I mean by that is like you have to allow your child to, in order for them to learn and grow. It's a bit like this, and I use this as a metaphor, right? When a child grows up from a baby to a toddler, they're learning so much. Right? They're learning how to speak, but more importantly, they're learning how to walk. So what do you do with that baby or moving into a toddler, right? You don't if they try to get up, you don't just try to help them up all the time every time they try to walk, right? You let them do their own thing because you have to allow them to effectively learn the ropes. That you have to allow them to hurt themselves. You have to allow them to go through that. And then eventually they're going to keep doing it because they're persistent. They're like, children, I find children fascinating, especially when it comes to persistence. If they want something, they'll get it because they'll continue to keep going. If they believe that they can do it, they will. So I hope that kind of answers the question.
If they believe they can do it. So if they believe they can do it, and I know that was probably, you said the first question you're going to ask, the reason why I changed my last name to Awesome is because Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Adam, do you
Mhm.
believe words are powerful?
Absolutely, 100%.
Now, if you believe words are powerful, the reason why I changed my last name to Awesome is a reminder that I think I'm awesome. I have to think highly of myself at all times. No one's going to believe in me until I believe in myself.
Mm.
Now, some backlash I get when people find out that I changed my last name to Awesome. They say, well, you must think highly of yourself.
That's true.
Yeah, I do. I do. I think so highly of myself. I think I can accomplish anything. I can think I can do anything. But here's something else as well, Adam. I also think the same of you.
I appreciate that.
You don't have to. So there's a thing, there's this concept that we have as people. I can't think highly of myself and think highly of other people as well.
Mm.
And this is why the idea of being humble is so important to understand. I think humility is one of the worst habits you could develop. It's one of the worst traits you can have. And Adam, do you have a phone in front of you? Can you Google the definition of humble for me?
Yep. In fact, I'll probably just bang it out here on the old laptop. It's probably much easier.
Okay.
Humble.
Okay. Now read the
And,
first
and
definition for me.
okay, give me 2 seconds. It says not proud or, oh, hang on a second. I don't know if this is correct. Hang on a second.
No, it's very correct. Read it, Adam.
Oh, it is. It says not proud or not arrogant, not or assertive, reflecting, expressing, or offered in a spirit of difference or submission.
Okay.
That's
Does that
what it
sound like a
says.
strong trait?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have another definition that you can read? Maybe that's a
Gonna
fluke.
be okay. So a humble person is not proud and does not believe that they are better than other people. That's another one.
Do you have another one? And can you
Let's
find any
see.
positive definition of humble?
Well, it's only because I've been a bit biased, really. Okay, let's go in here. Let's have a look. This is the English dictionary, by the way, for you guys that are disclosed, okay? So it says humble, okay? It says low in rank, importance, status, and quality. Courteously respectful. Let's have a look. Have a feeling of insignificance, inferiority, or subservience. Not proud or arrogant.
Okay, Adam.
Modest.
So I've been letting you go for a while on these definitions. I wanted to see if you can find a positive definition of being humble.
That's not really that positive, I would say. Low in rank, low importance. It's not really. It's not really.
It's a negative trait, but we have this concept well, at least here in the States, we have this concept of because it's a Christian nation and being humble in the eye of the Lord. Mm-hmm. Sure, but Adam, you're not the Lord. I don't need to be humble to you. But we condition our children to be humble. We condition our children not to celebrate. We condition our children not celebrate themselves. If you get 100 on your test and everyone else gets a 60, you don't tell anyone. You keep it to yourself. You don't want anyone to know your greatness. And if you continuously suppress how great you really are, how will you ever reach your highest potential?
You know what's really interesting about this conversation, and I think that from my perspective, I think there's kind of a fine balance between humbleness and egotistical, because especially, you know what I mean, that there is a really fine line between the two. What do you think the two differences are?
I would tell you to look up the definition of ego and tell me if ego is a bad thing. Ego is, look up the definition of ego and tell me if ego is a bad thing. Words are powerful. We have to understand the words we're talking about. I have an ego. My ego is great.
Absolutely. It says a person's sense of self-esteem and self-importance. So that's a positive thing, right?
Yeah. Why is that a bad thing? And what happens is we'll start to continue. Most people, when I tell them that, they start to redefine the negative definition of ego because they've been so conditioned that ego is bad and they don't even know who told them in the first place. Right. Words are powerful. I will never be humble. No, thank you. I think so highly of myself. I think highly of you as well, Adam. I think I'm up here. If you're down here, I'm not going to come down here to meet you. No, I'm going to pull you up here with me. Because when times get tough and we're facing the fire and life is punching us in the face, and you say, well, how long can I stay in the fire? You can stand in the fire as long as you believe you can. And if you don't believe you're that great, you're not going to stay in the fire that long. I'll live in the fire.
I love that. I love that. It's interesting. I guess it also depends on a number of factors. Number one is mindset, but also perceptual reality, because I feel like, it again depend on what your life experience is, and what your perceptual reality is of what humble is, what ego is. If I spoke to 20 people, in fact, if I spoke to 10 people, we'd probably all have a different definition of how we see ego and humbleness, right?
I disagree. If you asked me and 9 other people, you'd get 2 different answers. You get my answer and you get 9 other people telling you that being humble was good, because they never took the time to look at it. And anytime I bring this up to someone, it's like it hits a trigger point of their emotions, because they look at being humble as such a virtue that they start to defend it and say, but humble doesn't mean thinking lowly of yourself. It doesn't mean thinking of less of yourself. It means thinking of yourself less. A whole bunch of stupid rhymes. And no, words are powerful. Being humble is a weak trait. Having an ego is not a bad thing.
I like that. I hear you. I hear
My
you.
personal belief. My personal belief. It's how I
Absolutely.
my life.
No, but I like it. I think it's a good perspective. I definitely love that. Anyway, moving on from humbleness, because I know that you are a very humble person, of course. I want to talk about. I want to kind of like go into, and I know that you have kind of a very interesting story to tell. I know that when we spoke offline, I remember you were telling me about the Olympic trials and about the fact that you were kind of like one of these. What's the word I was looking for? The special word I was looking for, like kind of not make it before you break it type of thing. But one of the things where you got there, but for some particular reason, the universe didn't want you to be there. Type. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. So for the listeners, I started boxing. I was 16 years old. I was getting bullied in school, and I figured out this equation: 1 + 2 = 3. In this equation, I'm 1. So what taught me this equation actually is I learned how calories work in school. They say you consume about 2,000 calories a day. You burn about 2,000 calories a day. You maintain. If you wanted to burn, if you want to lose weight, you have to burn more calories than you consume. So in my mind, this went on. 1 + 2 = 3. 1 is me. 3 is the goal. The reason why I'm 1 is you should always be your own number 1. You should always be your biggest fan. No one's going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. In this equation, number 3 is your goal. And my goal was to lose weight. In this equation, number 2 is everything I have to do to get to my goal. 1 + 2 = 3. The reason why I say number 2 is number 2, because it's shitty. It's the crappy part of the job. It's the hard work. It's the part that most people don't want to do. So I of course, didn't want to eat less food. So I said I'd burn more calories. So I started to rollerblade every morning before the gym. And here's where I figured out. I did it morning after morning after morning after morning after morning after 6 mornings in a row, Adam. No one stopped me and said, "Hey, Cam, I can tell you've been working out. Keep up the good work." No one said it. And the thing is, I looked in the mirror. I didn't see any difference. And I said, "Well, I've been doing this for 6 days and nothing's working." But I said, if the equation works, I'll stick with it. And this was the first time I dealt with delayed gratification. I stuck with it. And after about 4 months, Adam, people would say, "Look at Cam. He thinks he's skinny." And I would blush because it's all I want. So I joined the boxing gym, not to become a boxer, but just because I can burn more calories in the boxing gym. So I would be in the boxing gym 4 hours a day. I was working out more than anyone because I was obsessive about my weight. And I realized the more I boxed, the better I got at boxing. 1 + 2 = 3. 1 is me. 3 is getting good at boxing. 2 is not getting hit. Adam, if I don't get hit, I'm going to win. That was my plan. So at 6'1", 203 pounds, I fought at heavyweight. I fought guys 280, 290, because my thought process was, if you didn't hit me, you can't win. 1 + 2 = 3. So within 2 years of boxing, I became the number 1 boxer in the country. I qualified for the 2008 Olympic trials. I lost. I won nationals in 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012. In 2012, I won the Olympic trials to represent U.S. in the London Olympics. And then I was the first boxer to ever be suspended and kicked off the Olympic team for not filling out paperwork.
That's crazy.
I left. So I'm not. So are you familiar with WADA?
Yes, the World Association, Doping Association, right?
Yes. So I left the country to fight in Azerbaijan, and the drug testing agency showed up to give me a random drug test at my home in Kansas City. I wasn't there. A random drug test. So I missed the drug test. Now, this was after Lance Armstrong went on Oprah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that.
And they cracked down on a bunch of athletes for silly infractions. I was suspended for a year and kicked off the Olympic team, even though I tested negative that same week in Azerbaijan to even fight in the tournament. So there's no suspicion of me doping, but I got suspended for a year. I lost everything I had, everything I worked for, because in our sport, all we get is sponsorships. And my sponsorship was my house, my car, my gym memberships. It was my whole livelihood.
That's crazy. So you basically, what you're saying is then you lost everything. Did you lose everything?
Everything.
That's
Everything.
crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no going back, you know, because I mean, listen, I know the whole kind of like, you know, leading up to the Olympics and training for what is the toughest challenge of your entire life. You work for 4 years for them to just turn around and say, yeah, you weren't in your hometown, so we're going to put you down as a failure. That's that's low, man. I mean, that's harsh.
That I was so hurt because I realized I gave everything to boxing, and
Right.
then boxing just screwed me over, and I
Mm,
was left with nothing.
mm,
And I didn't go to college, I didn't do anything besides box, so I had no skills. So I had to
right.
just wait my year suspension and return to boxing. But I said when I returned to boxing, I was going to do it differently. When I returned to boxing, I was going to leave on my own accord, and I was going to build myself up bigger than a boxer. So when I'm done with the sport, I have something else. And when I returned, I wasn't going to be, because during my suspension, I became a negative person. I was depressed. I was
Yeah.
sad. I gained a bunch of weight. And
Yeah.
I decided to symbolically kill off the old me. Now, what I did was I on my half birthday, I went out and I legally changed my name to Cam F Awesome. And the reason why I did that was I did it because for a bunch of reasons. One, to remind myself to believe in myself. Two, I wanted everyone that knew me to reintroduce themselves to me because they didn't know me anymore.
Mm.
This new me, I was different. I have different boundaries. I respect myself differently. I won't tolerate things I used to tolerate. And another reason why is when I returned to boxing, I was going to be such a personality that I was going to build a career for myself after sports.
Love.
So I returned to boxing. I got a deal with Netflix. They followed me around for 3 years, did a documentary on me. But as I would travel around to fight, I would stop off at high schools and middle schools and speak at high schools and middle schools to kids. I would also do stand up comedy, and I became a vegan, and I would also MC vegan festivals around the country. Uh,
I love it.
any any opportunity to have a microphone, I did it because I wanted to get better at speaking. And as I built my boxing career, I was building my speaking business as well, building my talent of speaking. And I kind of built a brand for myself. So after I retired from boxing, I transitioned into a pretty successful speaking career.
Mm. Love that. It's interesting because, you see those, I'm not going to call them horror stories, but, some of the stories of when athletes retire or footballers when they get serious. It's kind of like, in a way, you kind of like pity those athletes, but in another sense, you kind of, you don't, because it's like, well, surely you should anticipate it. Like that was going to happen. There's always a shelf life to sport and being the best at your game. Do you know what I mean?
Adam, yes, logically, I know what you mean, but think about it like this. Let's say that you were LeBron James. You were 6'4" at the age of 10.
Yep.
They knew you were going to be a prodigy.
Yep.
And do you think you lived a normal life?
That's true.
Do you think anything has ever been normal for you? Do you have to conceptualize things the way a normal person would? Imagine if LeBron James would have broken his leg his senior year in high school and never played basketball again. He he would be stunted. He would have to reacclimate into society. So these athletes, they're
Right.
never told. If you're told you're going to be great your whole life, and then once you get to college, you realize everyone in college is great. You're not special.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It is a really good question. It does go back to kind of like what I experienced as well. I mean, but then you kind of aspire to some of the amazing athletes out there. Like, if you look at people like David Beckham, for example, who, you know, he was a smart businessman. You get a lot of great footballers. You get a lot of great boxers, you know, that have like little, what I call side hustles. Do you know what I'm saying? Like little side hustles, whether that be in dealing with property or real estate. You know, and they kind of like fought a little bit kind of out of the box. I mean, same for you. I mean, you kind of like fought out of the box. You got into, you know, speaking and stuff. So you were kind of like on toes a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying? But it took that kind of like, you know, experience for you to kind of realize that, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, I think for any athlete, I think every athlete should look at your sport as a way to make absorbent amounts of money to
Yep.
invest into your business for when you're 30. Because when you're
Yep.
30, you're old, you're washed up, you're retired. If you're not at 30, you will be by 40. So you need to build that plan. And here's how crazy it is. So when I first started boxing, it was never to get good at boxing. It was just to lose weight.
Mm,
Then I realized I got to travel for free. And then something went
right.
off in my mind. After I won my first national championship, 1 + 2 = 3. I know the equation works. I figured I can
Love
win
it.
all the national championships. If I have a national championship, Adam, and you have an associate's degree, and we go for a marketing job, who do you think is going to get it?
Oh, it's a tricky one. Oh, it's probably going to be you.
Yeah. Now, by the time I won my fourth national championship, that's a bachelor's
Mm,
degree. By the time I've
mm,
won my 10th national championship, that was a master's. By the time I won my 14th, that was a doctorate. I can
right.
use, as an athlete, I can use my skill as an athlete to transition to anywhere else in life, but you have to build, you have to use that time while you're still an athlete, because
Yep.
athletes don't realize as soon as the jersey on their sweat dries, they become irrelevant.
Yep. Agreed. 100%. By the way, unless you're, of course, a goalkeeper, because I read the other day that there was a goalkeeper, I think he was like 46, and he was playing for some South American team or Asian team. So, you know, if you're a goalkeeper, this doesn't apply. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Okay. Anyway, it's all good. Listen, I'd like to delve into kind of like what your mental preparation was before leading up to a fight or a competition. Like, what was kind of going through your mind mentally and emotionally? Like, how did you deal with the pressure and that kind of stuff? What was kind of, I'd love to know more about that.
So my way of dealing with the pressure is overexposure. So m- most most people spar probably once or twice a week.
Right.
I only spar. I don't hit the
Hmm.
bag. I don't do anything else but spar. Why? Because I feel like if I hit the bag, all you do is develop bad habits. The bag's not going to punch you in the face.
Mm.
So because I spent so much time in the ring sparring, I was so comfortable during fights. And then after I did that, I realized, oh, if I spar 1,000 rounds, and Adam, you only
Mm.
spar 100 rounds, I'm going to be a lot
Mm.
more comfortable than you.
Right.
So I realized if I have 100 fights and you have 10 fights, Adam, who do you think is going to win?
Well, you're going to win, of course.
I have 400 fights now, Adam.
Right.
That's my way of getting rid of my nerves. Is I fought so often it was casual to me. I would show up to fights by myself. I would wrap my own hands. I'd warm myself up. I would ask any random coach, stranger, to work my corner. It was casual to me. And here's the mental aspect behind it. If you're my opponent, Adam, I want you to know you are so insignificant to me that I'm not worried about this fight, that I drove here without a coach, that I wrap my hands myself. I do this so often. I am so comfortable, Adam. You are in over your head. Our experience levels are so different that you look over at me and I'm joking around with everyone in the crowd. And you're preparing for the biggest night of your life and you're super nervous. Who do you think's better prepared?
You're going to be prepared. You did most of the sparring, you did most of the practice, and
And
you take on most
and
of the responsibility, I guess.
and here's why, Adam. Because I did all those things, I'm better than you. I'm better than you, Adam, in every aspect of the way. I'm a better fighter than you. I'm a better inside fighter. I have a better jab than you. I have a better uppercut than you. I'm a better brother than you, Adam. I'm a better father. I don't even have kids. I'm a better husband. I'm not married. In every aspect of your life, Adam, I'm better than you because you're not willing to dedicate as much as I'm willing to dedicate.
Do you also feel like, because you talk about dedication and stuff like that, but also because you talked about, during your routine, you drive yourself to the fight, you wrap your own hands, and so you do all those things yourself. But then with other fighters, say this is I don't know, a big fight or whatever it is, could be a national championship or whatever it is, that have coaches, that have people wrapping their hands or whatever it is. What are some of the, I mean, I'm a big believer of, if you're an individual, doesn't matter if you're a boxing athlete, distance runner, it doesn't really matter. Where does the kind of the team fit into place? Especially if you're preparing yourself. Are you saying that a team is insignificant, like to back your corner, or should you take that responsibility yourself? What's your take on this?
I would say in boxing, some people need coach. So I believe a boxing coach isn't as relevant at the fight. The boxing coach isn't relevant at the fight. Everything that you've trained for, you're not going to learn anything new in the 60 seconds in between rounds. But it does make someone feel
Okay.
a little more comfortable, and it lets you mentally feel comfortable. It actually doesn't make a difference. I would say what you do before the fight is what matters. If you're listening to your coach, if you're training before the fight, you can have the greatest coach in the world in your corner, but if you haven't actually trained for the last month, you're going to lose.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
And Adam, I'm so sure I trained harder than you.
You probably did.
No, I just mean like whoever my opponent is, I obsess in the gym, and sometimes like, oh, I'm gonna hit out these 6 rounds, and then if I have a thought, the guy I'm fighting might have done 7 rounds. I'm doing 11.
Right. You want to go like 3-4 steps higher than them all the time.
And it's I want to lap them so much they don't know who's ahead.
I love that. So it's so cool.
But
did you
I don't know
just out of curiosity?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you ever lose in your boxing career at all? Like any matches at all?
Oh, I lost a lot. Adam, I lost so many. But that's
well, that's good.
Here's the thing. What I learned is, your record, your boxing record doesn't matter. That's why if you were the biggest badass, I would drive to your hometown and fight you in front of your home crowd. Now, I'd probably beat you, and they're not going to give me the decision. But I don't care because your record doesn't matter. Because when as a real fighter, as a championship, I have that experience. So there's a guy named Roberto Camarelli, number 1 guy in the world when I fought him. He's from Italy. He came to Reno, Nevada to fight me. And if you think I'm going to let someone beat me in my own home country, Adam, you're crazy. Adam, this dude beat my ass. Like
he did?
I didn't have it. Oh, I lost that fight. He was so experienced, Adam. The things he was doing to me in the ring, I'd never seen before.
Wow.
I was like a fish out of water. He was treating me like a child. And the things I lost, I got to the locker room. I was pissed off, as I am. And I realized all the things that he did to me that I never saw before.
Huh.
Because I'm here in the United States. We don't fight like that.
Right.
I started to dominate everyone in the United States because I just started to do to them what he did to me. Adam, I have 39 losses.
Wow. Out of how many? How many foughts?
I've got over 400 wins.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good record, though.
But I couldn't imagine. So that lesson I learned from that one Italian dude, Imagine if I would have lost that fight and never fought again.
That's true.
I would have never been able to utilize any of the lessons I learned in that loss.
Mm.
I've had 39 losses. I've got so many lessons that help me get those 400 wins. But a lot of times when we lose in life, we want to give up and we want to quit.
Right.
But the loss is the lesson. That's what's going to make you better for next time. If you stop fighting, you lose. It was pointless.
How did you in at that time, we use that as an example, you know, when you fought against the Italian fighter, how did you deal with that emotionally and mentally about the fact that you were pissed off, of course, which is probably rightly so, of course. But what did you like? What was going through your mind from the time that you lost or that you knew that you lost to what happened, you know, for 2 or 3 days after the fight?
So when I lose, I have this thing about momentum. I don't like that I lost my last fight. So as soon as I lost that fight, the first thing I was doing was looking for another fight immediately because I wanted to get that winning streak back going. Now, I couldn't watch the fight. I couldn't watch the fight.
Okay.
I would wake up in the middle of the night dreaming about it. I couldn't fall asleep at night because I was thinking about it. I would get lost in a conversation talking to you because I would be thinking about something I could have done in that fight. I obsess over it. But here's what I found, and here's what people don't want to talk about. If you want to be great at something, you're going to need to be obsessive. You can't name a single person in the world who's great at anything that practices moderation.
Explain.
Name somebody who practices moderation who's great at what they do.
What about Lewis Hamilton?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking Formula One there, completely random. Okay, let's
Formula
go back
One. Okay,
yeah,
we
or
can
Michael
even use. Michael Jordan. Okay, Michael Jordan was known to be obsessively practicing, to be obsessively competitive. He would play. If you're playing tic-tac-toe with him, he's putting money on it. He's obsessively competitive. Even the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is known for literally doing nothing, standing still and meditating. And he does it harder than anybody. The fact that you know his name.
Right.
But the thing is, everyone believes moderation is key. No, moderation leads to mediocrity. You give average effort, you're going to get average results. But no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that. So they say moderation's good. No, moderation is good if you want to be mediocre.
Yep. Yeah,
now, what I suggest is be great. Obsess until you're great, and then maybe you can coast. But you don't get to coast when you're mediocre.
You can't judge that. No. Love that. That's a really good point. I love that. I know that we're coming towards the end of our interview, and one thing that by the way, guys, for you guys that are listening in, by the way, I hope that you've been enjoying some of our conversations. Please do us a favor, if you have any questions, put in the comment section below for me and Cam, and we'll come back to you definitely. I suppose last sort of question for me is for our audience that are listening in, whether it be a business leader, a business owner, or whatever it might be, you know, what can entrepreneurs in particular learn from, you know, from you in particular in terms of your journey, in terms of boxing, and how can we bring that into the kind of like the entrepreneurial world? What can we learn from that if people are going through times of adversity?
I would say the greatest way to prepare is to be focused, and I would say the greatest way to be great is to be comfortable, and the greatest way to be comfortable is repetitions. So reps. And so one of the quotes that I live by, it's my own personal quote: if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable.
Love that.
If you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable. If you fail and you learn from it and you can do it again, you're better. If let's say you fail the third grade, I bet the second time you do third grade, you're going to be better. The third time you do third grade, you're going to be great. The seventh time you do third grade, you should probably drop out, but you're going to be better.
You get the point, ladies and gents. I hope so. That's it. Rinse and repeat, as they say. right? Rinse and repeat.
Yes.
That's what they say. Love that. Some good stuff. Listen, for you guys listening in, I hope that you enjoyed mine and Cam's conversations. For you guys that are listening in on the podcast, of course, please do me a favor, check out Cam's social media links below, and feel free to connect with him. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, mention this podcast, of course. Cam, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on today's show.
Thank you for having me, brother.
It's all good. Listen, hope you enjoyed today's show, ladies and gents. And if you have, please do me a favor, write out a 5-star review over on Apple or Spotify and give us your perspective, opinion, and feedback. We'd love that. We'd love to hear from our audience. We have over 52 we have listeners in 52 countries, over 52 countries around the world, which is insane. By the way, the United States is the second largest audience. So for you guys that are in Kansas City, Seattle, Washington, or any part of the United States, please give a big shout out to Cam. Awesome. Anyway, so listen, hopefully you got some gold nuggets out today's session. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Cam's thoroughly enjoyed it. And hopefully you guys will listen in on the next Game Changers experience. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Cheers, everyone.